A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Survival of No Limits. And well, here we go with some more content relating to survivability and what you'll need to do to protect yourself against anything that could happen. The environment, natural disasters, anything at all that could take place. So what we're going to be talking about today is a series of things out there relating to waterfalls, but let's just say Mount St. Helens. If you don't really get that sort of connection, then well, I'll just spell it out for you. Lahars, also known as mudflows or anything else of the sorts. There are several names that exist with this type of anomaly, but lahars are generally used as a way of describing a type of fall that typically takes place on the tops of mountainous areas across the world that are meant to be active volcanoes. And the majority of active volcanoes happen to have polar ice caps on the top of them or alongside the top of them that can melt occasionally because of an eruption or otherwise. And these types of glaciary, icy melting processes that take place on the tops of these mountains or the sides of these mountains end up picking a lot of dirt, soil, dust, and other things out there. Therefore, turns them into mud. That's why they're typically referred to as mud flows. And when these polar ice caps on top of certain active volcanoes can melt, then it can usually be a pretty devastating side effect alongside the primary eruption that had taken place. With extreme levels of ash, dust, smoke, magma, lava, gas, and all that are flung off from the inside of a volcano to the sky, which can blot out the sun and create ash like winters. But when you add mud flows to the mix, it could get rather serious. They're basically similar to a dam breaking in a way. Maybe like the Hoover Dam, or probably like another part of the world that is probably gigantic in any possible way. Mud flows are certainly like that of a dam breaking, and as a result of that, extreme amounts of water are sent rushing over to residential areas nearby and can pretty much cause a lot of damage and destruction along the way. So lahars, the way we see it, are very serious. But it is still worth noting that even with certain events happening throughout our history, like Mount St. Helens in 1980, and then there's the possibility of other volcanic eruptions happening at some point within the next few years, combined with the fact that we've already gotten ourselves several eruptions happening throughout the past couple of years. So it just shows that eruptions are something that happened even recently. But chances are, not every volcano is lined with polar ice caps on the top line. And this is mostly dependent on the environment around it. Dependent on what part of the world that a volcano is usually settled in. It could be alongside the equator or happen pretty close to the tops of the North Pole and South Pole. And then of course you got yourself things around like how high the mountaintop is, where it can supposedly get a lot colder up there than it could be down here. But the main thing is, simply put, lahars are absolutely devastating if they end up coming across a certain town or a city nearby. We of course, again, remember that point in time where Mount St. Helens had erupted and took out 57 people back in May 1980. And then there were considerable amounts of damage that had taken place. The entire landscape around it, pretty much, had been changed forever. The lake, of course, that was nearby when it first erupted had continuously terraformed to a point where it almost looks unrecognizable. And the top side of Mount St. Helens itself is completely destroyed. And now it's basically a very disfigured mountaintop. By any means. So that's just pretty much what that's all about. And lahars can do a lot more than you'd possibly anticipate. So, well, that's pretty much gonna cut it for today. But tune in a couple more days. I will have another episode, and I will have another piece of information to talk about when it comes to survivability and otherwise. But until then, if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.